Suzanne. I swear she's never here in time. She never knows her lines. Even you're smarter than Suzanne. That's right. That's right.
Alright, hey, I'm Alex Ulaky. I play Bary here, and the character playing him, as well as various other characters on the show. And I'm the creator of Back to the Drawing Board.
I'm Brandon Hain. I produced this episode as well as all of Season 2. I act in this episode as John Hoffman, and I mostly was on set and filmed when I wasn't acting on most scenes.
For the record, I also wrote and directed this episode, and Brendan and I both edited a lot of it. And this one ended up being one of the episodes I was most proud of in the end, too. Initially, I liked 204 best when Season 2 was done, but after a while, some of my appreciation drifted to this one. I don't know if the gags necessarily pop out as much, but personally, I just like this story a lot because it brings everything together.
Well, I mean, this story was also based off a lot on you and Nick's experiences working on Season 1,
Right, the first season of the show. Yeah, some of these scenes were ripped off, perfectly from events that actually happened. We have the segment later on at the TV lounge where the premiere doesn't work, and that was something that totally happened. And the event where they don't win anything at the award ceremony is also inspired not by my experience on this show, but another one that I had worked on prior to this, and that just kind of rumbled after that. And then we had the whole opening here where they're filming the show, and that's kind of what our whole experience doing this has been about for the longest amount of time anyway.
Right. I mean, that's kind of the point of Back to the Drawing Board, is that it's a show about making a show. And a lot of that means that, as it says on our Facebook page description, that it's a show based on the experiences of the people that have made that show.
Yep, and this whole season brings that together with, basically the conception of the show, and then the fact that it survived to a second season, because after we lost a lot of the cast in the first season, we didn't know if this could continue, and when we found all these great people here and it did, we just knew that we were going to be able to get it together, and this sort of celebrates that at the end of the season where everybody finally comes more together.
Oh no, it's a haunting sort of twisted thing of how this show mirrors the stuff that happens in the outside world, because all those characters that walk out of the room at the end of the Season 1, and Nick's the only one there at the end, Arthur, he was kind of the only one left afterwards. Joanne would come back and help us with editing and even cameo a bit here and there, but I mean, for the most part, Arthur having to strive and create and build things up from scratch is kind of what we had to do. And so we decided with the end of this season was going to be the opposite. It was going to be about them accomplishing all of that and, saving their show, and not end up like last season.
Yep, and aspects of Arthur and Sydney's personalities were both based off of different parts of my own and Nick's. So basically, Arthur was like 50% himself and 50% me, and Sydney was also a mixture of the two of us as well as a few newer ideas, but yeah, a lot of this gets kind of haunting. Do you think John is as much a part of you as some of these other characters are representations of themselves, Brandon?
Well, yes. I mean, John is an actor that constantly has... the way I played him up is that he has a lot of self kind of anxiety issues and just feels that he tries really hard to act, but no matter what he does, nothing is good enough because he feels like Arthur is never satisfied. And he looks up to Arthur. He sees Arthur as this great artist, and he just wants to appeal to what he wants. And the thing about Arthur is, as we learn in episode 2 of Season 2, is that Arthur is pushing John really, really hard just so he'll be great. But the problem is that, Arthur just doesn't really know people well, and while that method may work best for others, the way Arthur does it, it just kind of brings John further and further down, and he just feels confused and doesn't know what to do most of the time.
Meanwhile, Sydney also in the show kind of just confuses what he says. Not that Sydney is usually a character who does that, but it's just kind of their relationship. Specifically, they're on different wavelengths.
And the thing is, yeah, John doesn't really see the negativities in the people that are leading him. He likes Sydney and Arthur, and yeah, he gets pushed a little far in 204. But he, in the end, still looks up to them, even when they're gone.
Yep.
This was just like a really elaborate piece right here. Like, you first have like as the camera going into the I think this to me is one of the best examples of
cameraman being a character.
Being a character in the show. Now we have security cam footage.
Yeah,
and
I really liked a lot of that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of this was kind of inspired by a few shots I remember from Parks and Rec where they couldn't get into a room and they zoom in through a pair of blinds to see what somebody's doing. You know, those shows that in The Office were obviously ones that have inspired me a lot, and this was a scene that sort of took a lot of inspiration from that kind of thing. Yep, and there's Elizabeth there, the antagonist of the show, who throughout the writing sessions had been dubbed female Arthur. Whether or not she translates totally like that, I don't know. I mean, obviously you can tell that she's also one of the pompous ones, and it's kind of tried to be referenced here, but that's what we called her throughout the writing stages.
Yep.
Because initially with the draft for this season, I had an idea where, this is before we even knew the season 1 cast was leaving, Arthur would have another guy who was French, I believe, who was basically the same thing as him, but in a lower position. And eventually, we kind of morphed that into Elizabeth's character, but made her more of an actual antagonist to, physically have a conflict between their show and another.
Oh, no, in between whether or not you knew who was going to be back for the next season after everybody kind of left, you wrote a lot of different drafts.
Yeah, at least 3, probably 4 or 5.
But yeah, still floating around somewhere, but
very different. The Sydney character in another draft was actually Aurora, which is a very strange name. I don't know.
That's the name of Sleeping Beauty, from the Disney movie.
I mean, so it is. The Screaming Skull right there.
Yes, good old public domain crappy movies.
Yeah, this kind of thing too. Me, Brandon, Nick, and a couple of the others guys would watch, crappy movies like that quite frequently. We watched The Screaming Skull one Halloween, actually. And
it's just a remarkably bad and strange movie that never really makes up its mind about what The Screaming Skull actually is.
You guys should totally check it out.
Yeah.
That's my pitch. And this whole segment where Sydney just feels distance from everybody, I'm not sure exactly where that came from. Possibly from somewhere within myself feeling distanced. I mean, I've always been a bit of a loner throughout my childhood, but I don't know, this was just a sequence that I just had in my gut. I didn't even initially pitch it with the finale or anything, but it just ended up there.
This whole segment, to me, is one of the best scenes in season 2 in general, and just this show. The combination of just barely hearing John off screen and knowing that she's responding exactly what he's saying. The shots are good. I really like how you don't know Arthur is here until she turns and speaks to him.
And your acting was real good there too. Just what was that? I always love that. Yeah, this is when season 2 was probably at its darkest, which, in comparison to season 1, isn't all that dark.
But no, I'm happy that we really tried to tell a kind of a dramatic story in some of this. And when Arthur runs down here and just and that's what I love about using a TV studio, is that we can just get shots through the monitors and people will still know what's going on because we can just show it down there.
Right. Yeah, this was the IUP TV studio where most of the films, or most of the shows on the channel film regularly. We were in here on occasion. And, it had its advantages. We could pick up better audio than usual by setting up those mics, and we had extra cameras that sometimes I like to get behind the scenes stuff with. And of course, we have like a whole plethora of lighting above us, which, let me just tell you that when you do this kind of thing and make amateur films, getting good lighting will eat up a lot of time.
Yeah. As the person now directing season 3, I can say that it just came to a point where I was so little on time that I kind of just had to use makeshift lighting. Like, there was a part in one of the episodes where I used my flashlights just to get some sort of lighting. That's what's great about the studio, and I always liked how it looked with our cameras, because it had like this kind of yellowish glow, and it gave this kind of style to it. But what I like about this scene in particular is just the build-up, because one of the main themes or things going on in this script is just the fatigue and the tension building between everybody.
Yeah, and this was all based off, real stuff. There
Right.
was a lot of fatigue. We were at the end of the semester filming this, and time was running away. It's always hard to get people in the same shot at the same time. For this episode, we had to cut Dave out of several things.
That bit right there. And the fact that before we had the bits with John getting slapped, and that was kind of slaps that were building up to comedy, and then we have this that isn't. And seeing Arthur up there in the TV, yeah, let's be fair, it's an amateurish show made for a college TV station, but there's a passion put into this stuff. We really care about what we're doing, and sometimes bits like that, to me, I'm just like, I'm so happy.
And this scene here was in the original script, or it wasn't in the original script, it was in the original story that I drafted on the computer. And when I wrote the script, I completely forgot about this scene, which is like this transition that's kind of necessary between Arthur getting slapped, realizing what he's done, and moving on to the next scene where he's just kind of in depression. And we ended up filming this, in the fall semester after we had filmed everything last spring.
Which is why Nick's hair looks very different here.
Yeah, he's like half a year older, but I just felt it was necessary for this. And we didn't want to release it without it, so we took another day to get this stuff filmed.
Oh, I mean, yeah, part of the reason we did this extra bit was because when we were filming when we were filming this episode, and after we finished it off and had our edit at the end of spring, we were like, Arthur's transition is kind of abrupt with how he becomes nice. And then we later found out, well, I mean, you had something in the script. So we just used that and refilmed that, and to me, it definitely improves this episode. It acts as a nice transition to Arthur's state in the TV lounge scene after this, where he's just kind of in this state of not really sure what to do with himself.
As far as lighting, did we film this with the regular lights on, or were they actually off here? I think they were off because of how well the screen's showing there.
Yeah, it's mostly the light from the screen on his face there.
No, because usually when we have a scene that's dark like this, what we do is we actually just have all the lights on, but our cameras don't register light very well, and it just ends up looking dark. But
it's a strange phenomenon where everything looks dark, but you can clearly tell the lights are on in the shot. It's just the weird thing of cameras.
There's our little reference to season 1 on the milk carton there. The Carson character was always missing.
Which is a running gag that we also had in 204 in the background, where John and Arthur are talking outside. You'll also see another of that, and also a little sneak preview at some of the themes of season 3.
And talking, as we were mentioning, the parallels earlier to this in real life, he was the character who was always never there or not showing up. And then when we were filming the last episode in the the beginning of the first fall semester for season 2, finishing up season 1, he wasn't there, and he didn't tell us that he wasn't coming back to IUP. So, just one of those things.
So we just kind of made it a gag that Carson just went missing, and people are actually still looking for him. Even in season 3, I'm still trying to put in just random little bits of just Carson for some reason. I mean, what I liked about this part was that it really felt like Parks and Rec.
Yeah, she came off with a very Leslie Knope kind of.
Yeah, Heather's delivery here, and then
kind of her appearance too.
Yes, and the way that Micah as Bert's response. You were kind of below. So this was all based on the premiere of the pilot episode.
Yeah,
right?
you weren't there.
No, I wasn't there for that. I've just heard the horror stories.
It was like the first minute the premiere came on, like the sound wasn't working, and then like I think one of the scenes was upside down, and we had people there ready for this, and it was a complete disaster. I think, much like reference there, I exported it at the wrong setting or something, and I had too high a frame rate for the channel to handle, and nobody had told me that because it was my first time, doing a lot of this kind of thing.
I mean, even when we premiered this first episode of season 2 on IUP TV, the video quality looked like it had been run. It was like a VHS tape that had been run through like a washing machine. It was horrible, but I mean the sound worked and
it was
still
watchable.
It functioned. So I mean that was a step up.
Yeah. So with a lot of this, Arthur's reactions are pretty similar to how Nick reacted. He just kind of broke down, and I, much like the Sydney character in this instance, just kind of went into a psychotic state and figured we could march down there and somehow talk them into fixing it, despite the fact that nobody's actually probably running it because it's automated.
Right.
And I think I did mention that Nick or I, or both of us mentioned that we, much like Heather mentions, that we were going to get brooms and threaten them if it came to that. Not that there was any seriousness to it, but...
Yep. We actually have a sort of kind of cameo in here. One of the other guys in the room, you'll notice, is nobody else in the season, and that is Fernando de la Cruz, who designed our logo and composed our theme song, edited the intro. Like, he's done a lot for this show. He's currently playing one of the lead characters in season 3, so you can sort of consider this. There he is right there. Kind of a cameo of his character early on.
Oh, yeah, this part initially... where John runs out. In the script, that was actually Dave who does that, and he couldn't make it to that shoot, and we had to get this done, so we just translated that to John, because in all honesty, they're somewhat similar characters.
Well, and by the end of the season, Grant Hugenstraten, who played Dave, was becoming
with theater stuff.
Well, doing short films and doing other acting. I mean, it's a shame we casted him as the most bland character in the show, because he's an excellent actor.
Yeah, it really kind of sucks.
But to me, that's what made it kind of good, because he played that blandness in a really over-the-top way that made a lot of his bits really funny.
He over-the-toply doesn't get over the top.
It's one of the things I like about 205, the episode that I wrote.
In all honesty, though, I think we were better off with John in that scene than Dave anyway, because John just really was more of an essential component to the show than Dave, who is the traitor in this episode.
And now we have the awards banquet, or the Golden Artists Awards, which
I think that name was pitched by Donald Windsor, right? One of our writers?
I believe so, yeah. Like, 206 had some edits from the other writers, if I'm right, here and there.
Donald tweaked a few things. I don't really think anybody else did. As long as it was just you, me, Nick, and Donald on that team, then Donald was the only one who really touched it up for the most part.
So this was filmed in the
humanities building,
like the entrance,
the lobby.
the entrance lobby of the new humanities building.
I think it was on a Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon and night, right?
Yeah, and wasn't it like there was like a janitor that kind of wanted us out of there or something? Yeah.
Yeah. We weren't actually about to get kicked out though, for once. So it was nice that they just wanted us out, but weren't going to really push us out.
And for those of you wondering about the audio quality here, well, we kind of had run out of options for this particular bit for one reason or another, so this is cell phone audio.
Yeah, we had been borrowing lavaliers from the school, but because this was so late in the semester, they needed them for finals, we couldn't obtain any. Yeah, this was a fun scene, though, where everybody got to get all dressed up for once.
Yeah, definitely.
Even the camera people, because they would both be, cameoing a little bit here and there. Me and Jesse, one of our major cameramen for the second season.
I I would like to see someone do a drinking game every time Arthur says the term "this is ridiculous." Now is that just a vocal mannerism of Nick, or is that the
I don't
character?
think I wrote that in that much. So
Okay.
I think that was probably just how
Something he
likes to deliver
added in
things.
for the character?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
improvs a lot of stuff, which is usually pretty great.
Yeah,
unless,
definitely.
It misses something.
Well,
that's
I'd say 202 is one of the best examples of that. Most of season 2, episode 2. This line here is meant to be a reference to the fact of that he's talking about, just how Elizabeth just had problems as a child, and it's really just him.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, so on the last day, on the very last day of spring semester, Alex and I walked into this. We realized, all right, so for the rewards banquet, we need to show a clip of Elizabeth's show. We realized we had never really thought about what it even was.
We thought about it a little bit, but we didn't stop thinking about it at the writers' meeting, so we never actually conclusively said what it was.
So on I think the last day of spring semester, Alex and me and Ashley, who played Elizabeth, walked into the studio. Alex brought a giant box of his props and a couple masks and stuff.
I got a load of this,
and we improv'd a whole bunch of segments of her interviewing us, which are now separate segments on our YouTube page.
Yeah, some of them pretty silly, and some of them, because they were improv, are just kind of what?
Yeah, exactly.
And some of them are what?
Yeah. There's a reason why they're on our YouTube account and not IUP-TV.
Yep. That second segment about the car incident was a short video that I did for a group project for a class that was just kind of ridiculously over the top as a public service announcement. So I figured, why not just reference this and make it a show?
Mm-hmm. This is a improv segment from 204 that we didn't use in that episode.
Yeah, I mean, we have a load of improv stuff we never used.
Oh yeah, there's a ton of it.
Last.
Mm-hmm.
This is where Arthur is trying to be nice again, eh?
Yeah, trying.
This scene, I liked the way that everybody just kind of grouped together in it. I liked the shot, and it just seemed kind of real to me with everybody getting.
No, I just like this
show.
shot in general, just with how it's structured, all in there. God. There's something about the way that Robert M. Irving delivers lines as Sherman that always brings a smile to my face. There's something endearing about that. Oh, man. Oh, yeah, the guy in the blue shirt right there is Alec, a friend of ours.
Oh, yeah. He's Nick's roommate this year as we are recording this, and I've known him for the entirety of my college career, pretty much.
Yeah, we are currently at the end of May 2017 semester, so.
Oh, there's Jesse.
Oh, yes, yeah, Jesse, one of our camera guys.
He appears every once in a while. When we need somebody extra, Oh, that was our friend Chris, who hung out a little bit.
That's Brittany there in pink, Fernando's girlfriend.
Yeah. This whole ending, in the original draft, it was it got really sappy, just because I wanted to make it a lot more positive than the way season 1 ended, and it was too sappy. So fortunately, a couple of people were able to cut it down a bit, so now it's only moderately sappy. I still think it's too sappy, but I'd take that right now.
Just the way that Arthur stands up for Sydney, you mean?
Yeah, just a lot of that. And in all honesty, the Elizabeth character almost just seems too conceited to me now, but I think this was a popular choice at the writers' meeting to make her approach like this.
Yeah, I feel like she just kind of became the antagonist, and there could have been a little more to her, but because wasn't Ashley more unavailable than the others, or we just... Because that's why I kind of wanted to write that 205 scene, just to have a little more of
we
her in there,
at the end of 205 we have her like recruit Dave to join her show, you know, like a big villainous kind of thing, even though it's, you know, just pretty typical. And that wasn't originally in the script, but when we figured out that 5 was going to be, you know, where it was in the season and 6 was going to be the finale, we needed to put that in to, like, bridge everything together to, like, put that to move into this episode. And then,
one of the final times we had Grant as Dave.
Yeah, he came in late that day, so that's why he just walks in here.
Yep.
Yeah, the line originally was supposed to be that, like, he was inviting Arthur and Sydney to his house for like a small party, and then Arthur just kind of invites everybody, and he freaks out that his floors aren't going to be able to support everybody, and we toyed around with the idea that maybe in the next season we find out everybody went to the party, the floors collapsed, and everybody died. Not very seriously.
No. I mean, that whole line you just described there is in this scene, but it's mostly blocked out by everybody else. And this is a pretty cool moment. So they zoom in on my coat there, and then that's actually a cut.
Oh yeah, because it wasn't a cut so much as a jump cut actually.
Well, yeah,
because then it goes on for a little bit, but we just made it flow a lot better like that.
And most of the other episodes fade to black, and with this we just decided...
let's let them...
Yeah.
Let it end nice for once. These guys have been through enough, I can tell you
Yes.
that, because they're basically us.
Yes. And that's how we finished up Season 2 with a happy ending. And kind of like a positive parallel to Season 1.
Yep. I'll say. From there, we'd have quite a few of the characters return to Season 3. You know, Bert,
in very different roles, but yeah, definitely. Like, Bert especially gets a lot of development in that next
Kinsey,
season.
I always liked her character a lot, too.
Yes, yes.
We wanted to do more with her, but she just never ended up being in, like, the main story. She got a good bit in the Christmas episode and then a segment in 205, but it was always her being scared, which we wanted to
she was
more with.
She just kind of, she was the shaky camera operator, and we kind of tried to push more stuff in Season 3, but it just... Like, just yesterday, I finally got done with the final scene of shooting with her, so... it's kind of sad goodbye.
Little logo that's based off of the little paper animated logo I've always had for my studio when I was like a kid with a pretend studio. So.
Oh, cool. So Gravity Quitters was always a thing, like when you were a kid?
Well, before that, my studio was called Home Movies, which just was kind of confusing because it sounded like, well, one, the show that I really liked, and then two, the home movies that my parents wanted to watch of me just being a kid who wasn't acting at the moment, which was boring. Why would you want to watch that?
Yeah, I don't know.
This has been done recording for some time now.
Okay. So I should probably sign off.
All right.
All right. Thank you for joining us.